welcome. So here we are, we're over the fence again. So let's commence with, we respectfully acknowledge the enduring and active relationship of Indigenous people with this land, specifically the area in which we inhabit today, also known as the traditional territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7. The Society as an organization is focused on the well-being of the land. We endeavor to honor Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis rights and relationships with the land, and the ability for all to grow, live, and work and play within this territory. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kath Smyth. I'm the Horticultural Society's horticulturist. A lot of spin involved there. And my guest tonight is Glenn Stevenson. He is the greenhouse manager for Blue Grass Garden Center. I nearly blew that. You'd think I'd know after all these years. Now, Glenn and I tend to be a little comfortable with each other. We've known each other. We were trying to figure it out. Is it 15 or 20?
I think we're about 15 years now. We've worked together kind of consistently.
Yes. And he has quite a gardening history. Like when I first started engaging him in helping with gardening and getting into the gardening, I discovered that, Glenn, tell us about your dad.
Oh, yes. Well, my dad is an old farmer, so he grew up as a farmer in Southern Ontario. So it was just something that, as a young person, you could not get away from going to the farm. Where our farm was located outside of London, Ontario. And so you had to be on death's door not to go plant potatoes on May 24th long weekend, because that's what you did. There's no getting out of it. In the car, we go plant potatoes. There's no, you can't go, or you're not going, you're going.
And don't let him kid you. If you go to visit him at the garden center, there isn't anything he doesn't know about potatoes. And I recall that I did a potato segment for the TV, for City TV one morning. And after the segment was over, he came over and corrected me.
Well, we grew a lot of potatoes.
Yes.
I remember one year in particular, we had 327 hills of potatoes. Luckily for me, I didn't have to dig all of those. Grandpa and my dad did most of that. I was fertilizer, so I had the tablespoon, and it was 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoon, and a kick of soil. Next hole. and it was always it always turned out to be a nice time of the year and a nice time to plant stuff.
And who killed them?
That was a shared duty. Grandma tried it a few times, but that didn't work out so well. And I think I ended up doing some of it, and Dad ended up doing most of it. But we always tried to share all the responsibilities of, doing the potatoes. But harvest time was always, you're digging them too close to the stalks, you're gonna kill them all. So you have to be careful to dig outside of that stalk by about that far, because then you can get all the potatoes out without, pitchforking them all.
I see. Okay. So as I was saying, over the years, we've done many things together, but you recently decided to do the Master Gardeners course.
Yes, that was quite the experience. It was 2 nights a week for about 6 months, and it was a good way to hone in a few of which I thought I knew lots, but I didn't know anything. But the amount of great speakers, I was so impressed with everybody that came to help, the class and work with the students and the projects, and it was just a really good experience. It just made me think, well, maybe I'm supposed to be a gardener after all. I've done other things.
How do you like working for Bluegrass?
I've enjoyed my time there. As I always tell everybody, there is never a dull day in the greenhouse. There's always something going on somewhere that needs to be fixed, counted, repaired, restocked, questions, answers, You know, and it always is, the day goes by very fast, I can tell you. Especially in the summertime when there's a lot of stuff coming in and going out and orders and all of that. So there's never a dull moment there. Even right now, there's not very much downtime. You think, oh, well, it's fall, almost winter, there's not a lot going on. You're totally wrong.
Have you
But
got
not
your poinsettias yet?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I have been
Okay.
told they're arriving tomorrow. I had to make space on a few different display tables today. I had to take them apart, clean them all and reorganize everything, so we actually have space to put out the points.
And you're supposed to be getting a tropical plant truck.
Yeah, that's coming in from Florida on Friday, I hear, so we'll see how that goes. The last time the truck came, we had a crew of 16 and it took us 3 hours to get the truck unloaded, but there was also a crew inside unwrapping and sorting. This time we won't have that crew of 16, but I knew we'll get it done, and even if we have to do it on Saturday, we'll do it on Saturday.
See, he's developed the garden center philosophy. Bluegrass is one of our corporate members of the society, and they do offer our discount. Well, they actually have their own garden club. But when you go into into Bluegrass, what you need to do is go and register with their garden club and show your card, and then you can start shopping there with a discount. And it's a lot of.
Well, Christmas clearly came early for us. The girls in retail have worked so incredibly hard. And I've never seen so many trees in the store, and they are decked the halls, literally from the top to the bottom.
Well, you did make me laugh when you started there, and you've been there how many years?
I think it's 6.5 now-ish,
Yes.
somewhere around in there.
And you made some comment to me about, I never realized how many seasons there are in gardening.
Oh, yeah, no, you know, and right now we're in this odd season where,
Yes.
you know, we're still actually cutting sod. Again, we had stopped cutting sod, but now we're cutting sod again, so it's kind of a strange time to be doing that.
What's the demand for it? Is it,
Before I left, they sold a whole pallet,
wow,
and I was like, someone's gonna be very busy this week.
for it. But you know what? That gives the moisture, and the ground is still warm.
Oh, yeah, like I was planting tulips last week. I did a couple of 3 different gardens last week with tulips, so hopefully they come up in the spring, and as gardeners, you know, we've gotta try things and.
We're optimists.
Exactly.
We're
yeah.
optimists.
Yeah, you've gotta try it, otherwise, you know, can't say.
And for those of you who have not been up to Bluegrass out by Balzac, it's quite a big operation. They not only have a garden center that's nice size, they have a tree lot, and they do caliper trees, they do potted trees, and they do perennials and all of that. But on top of that, they supply landscape materials.
Oh, yeah, there's lots
Yeah.
of that. There's
And-
mulches and rocks and pea gravel, if you need pea gravel for the winter time to put on the driveway,
Yes,
we got that.
yes.
And we got garden mix soil, different kinds of loams.
Yeah.
So yeah,
When we
there's,
talk about broadening your horizons.
well, yeah, I didn't, you know, again, there was another one of those wow moments. We sell all of that.
We apparently are on a pause, but we should just continue to talk.
They're gonna continue.
So, yeah, we like that. So I'm going to go to a little bit. We're set, we're set.
Okay.
So one of the things I forgot to say, because I know better, but I missed a cue. When you get your garden club membership at Bluegrass, there's a special coupon in there for the Horticultural Society. So you make sure that you make them aware of that, and you will get a membership for free, sort of thing. So it's a good deal. It's a very good deal. Now, if you have questions, please put your hand up and ask. I mean, sometimes I can answer most anything, except that Glenn's getting better than me. Talk about, but that's because you're more current on some of the new plants coming in.
Well, I try to keep up.
Yes.
It's coming out. I brought a couple of examples here with me tonight.
What one's this common name?
That one is alocasia. You may recognize it as kind of like a stingray.
Yes, I'm trying to get it to show, it's got the coolest
So
Leaf
stingrays, I
deformity.
like stingrays, I've always liked stingrays, but this one came in and it's called Mickey Mouse. And I think that has to do with just the two leaves. I'm hoping there's gonna be more than two leaves.
Well, I think it's gonna be, because if the alocasia runs true to form, it starts to spread.
Well, I
So-
hope so. So I like that one. As soon as I saw that one, I was like, well, there's one to add to my collection. Like I need another plant in my house, but I only have 45.
Yeah,
That's not a lot. They're in every window.
and he only lives in a condo. It just baffles me where he fits it all. But this other plant, this is a homolamina, which is part of the philodendron family, but the philodendrons are part of the alocasia family. But what I really have always liked about them is their stems, as the more light they get and as the longer they grow, they go bright red.
Yes, and that one is our white variegated one. It doesn't have a lot of variegation on it, but it has some on the leaves.
Well, it has potential.
And I
it
know
has
that right
potential.
now, a lot of people are looking for the variegated plants. Someone asked me if I had a variegated bird's nest fern today, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that yet on a Vail list, but I'm gonna keep my eyes open for that one. I do have variegated string of pearls though. There's something.
Really? I've never seen those.
Yeah, but
I've been in the business a while and I haven't seen
variegated
one
string
of
of pearls.
those.
So that's another one that we have actually a special cabinet now for just rare plants.
Variegation.
Oh, yeah.
Variegation means green and white, yellow and white. I was fascinated by the fact this side has yellow variegation and this side has white variegation. So that interests me. And the stingray thing just still has me sort of, you know.
We did have a bigger Thai constellation that everybody was nuts over, and it grew legs and actually walked out the store. A lady came and actually put it in a bag and left. But the good thing is that we did have video. So if you're there, we are videoing you, and there's signs up that tell you that we're videoing her. We did post it onto Facebook, and lo and behold, someone recognized her, and the cops charged her with theft.
Oh, tell me
So
those
there you go.
stories.
So there's a happy ending to that little sad tale of plant thievery.
Yes.
But you know, it's amazing to me that people, you know, go to stores to do such a thing. Like, you know,
You're just not a retail veteran yet.
that's probably what it is.
That's what it
Well,
is.
I'm just,
You have to
and I
be-
was astounded by that. I remember one day I went in the men's washroom and someone had stole all the light bulbs. I turned the light on, I'm like, where's the lights? I'm like, oh my God, someone stole the light bulbs. Seriously,
well.
like crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That was a couple of years ago, but
So Glenn, as I was telling people, you and I have had several little adventures together over the years, gardening and stuff. And I voluntold you.
oh, a few times.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay,
one
more
of-
than a few times.
One of the things that I got him to help me with is CBC, the eye opener, approached me to do a garden in front of the building, the older building. And they wanted me to work with Angela Knight. And Glenn came to help and he was doing most of the planting. And I made him plant the potatoes just by the by. And I thought it was really fun to watch him work along with it. And Angela's quite an interesting person to work with, but my favorite thing about that was
The
You-
squirrels
the squirrels, yes.
and then the hailstorm.
Oh, yeah, and the hailstorm just,
Pretty much wiped out that garden,
but it came back.
even better. We
Yeah.
learned a lesson there, didn't we? Not
Yeah.
to cut stuff down after a hailstorm. Let it come back up.
That's
the way
right.
it's supposed to.
And we did really, really well.
Yeah.
And
We
then
got
at the end,
tomatoes.
yeah, we got some tomatoes. I gather the staff enjoyed them,
I would think.
yes. Oh, we have a question.
Oh
What's
yes,
going-
Joan is asking what's going to be new in the garden center in the spring.
Well, I know we've already pre-ordered a lot of material for the spring. So I don't think I've heard, there are some new colors of petunias for sure that are coming out. I'm just not sure of what colors they're going to be. I know we had one 2 years ago called Strawberry Shortcake, which I don't think anybody even saw hardly any of it. And then we had some orange ones that I think that almost looked like marigold color, but they were petunias. It was really, really neat.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I think our Red Deer location might be growing some specialty stuff this year for us in the spring.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know it, Bluegrass has two operations, one in Red Deer and one here in Calgary. And the Red Deer store tends to be the growing part of it as
They have
well.
about 26 greenhouses there, so
Yes.
it's quite a big operation, and I was actually floored when I got there, because it's on 2 levels.
Yes,
There's this level, and then you go down a set of stairs, and then you're in a whole nother set of greenhouses.
that's
I've
right.
never seen that before.
But what new perennials have you and Lisa been talking about?
You know, I'm trying to think if we've talked about anything off the top of my head. It's drawn a blank. I can't think of anything at the moment.
Well, I had a conversation with John Ostroden, used to be the buyer at Greengate, and he is now living in England, and he's working in a garden center there. And he said that the exciting thing that's coming out over there, and we'll get them too apparently, there's 12 new varieties of hostas that are variegated, that are really hardy.
Ooh.
And he said they are supposed to be spectacular. And because he worked in Canada, he made sure he found out what zone they are, and they're all zone 3. So I can hardly wait. And they have the name in their common name, they are Nova something. So keep an eye.
I will check the advance.
Are you guys a proven winner?
Yes, we are. Actually, I had to take a course at the beginning of the season as a proven winner. What's the word they used? Proven winner. I got a certificate for it.
He's a certified proven winner dealer.
Yes, there we go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm always interested in the proven winners. But Joan, I have a question back for you. How many proven winners do you grow?
Yeah.
Quite a few, I imagine, because you have quite the collection of pots going down the side of your house. So, anyway, the other adventure that we sort of got into was Rouge Restaurant.
Yeah, I remember you and I went there, it was probably 10, 12 years ago, and proposed in
You were muttering behind me as we walked through.
That's because I was hungry. We were talking about a garden plan and we discussed it, and then I don't think any of that really happened, and then.
Well, he did a bit of it.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time drawing it and putting.
That was Chef Michael Decker, I believe.
Yes, it
At
was.
the time. And then, fast forward a few years, I've been fortunate enough to be their flower gardener and one season as their vegetable gardener combined. So that was another big learning curve, because they didn't really say out loud, oh yeah, by the way, we have a garden menu. And I was like, what?
Well,
So
there was a lot of vegetable. Rouge is one of those restaurants that has their own vegetable garden, and they use it
Oh, yeah.
in the kitchens. Chef Olivier,
Paul Pulowski, Chef Paul.
Paul, and
He's very hands-on. He spends a lot of time in that garden. The garden this year was absolutely amazing. They had another gal there by the name of Michelle. She did an absolute killer job this year. Updated a lot of the woodwork and painted stuff, and it really looks a lot more snazzier.
and it's still that's a word, but it's still a really good example of beds that are actually usable, edible, very, very
Farm
good.
to table, but in the city.
Yes.
Sort of like what we did
Yeah,
at.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Joan says she has a few proven winners. She has Super Tunia Vista bubble gum.
Oh, they just grow like huge. Everybody comes in looking for the bubble gum.
Yeah,
It's amazing how beautiful and colorful and just.
and it
Wow.
thrives in our hot sun.
Oh, yeah, gosh.
It does beautifully.
Everybody wants that one.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I've always liked that. Joe, I can see her, but I can't. Joanne Ogilvy grows bubble gum and has for years, and it's beautiful. It really is. So when I talk garden, and so over the years, Glenn and I have evolved the relationship of who's growing what and where things are going. And Now he corrects me. So
She's the master though.
I hardly think so. And the other garden we've been involved in together now is the Atco garden.
Great bunch of guys over there.
Yeah.
They really are enthusiastic to try
Yeah.
growing and using what they can. I know they were picking strawberries right up to the first snow that we had.
Yes,
And even when I was planting in the garlic around the snow, there was still strawberries. in
yes,
there.
I hauled him out one day and said, we gotta go plant the garlic. The guys didn't get it in.
Yes,
So we had to go over there and there's Glenn very gamely out there with his
with my
with his-
moon boots on.
with his moon boots on and his hoe, and he's planting garlic.
Yeah.
So
We got it done though.
yeah,
Got
we
it done.
did. We
Fingers
got
crossed again that that's gonna
Yeah, but look
produce.
how much we produced the year before,
Well, that's true.
You
We
know.
did a good tomato haul this year for them as well, I think.
247 pounds of tomatoes.
I didn't know it was that much.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and they were that was at the end of the season, that's not even counting how many tomatoes they used over the season, because in the restaurant, they make a bacon tomato sandwich to die for, and they were using tomatoes from the garden, so I will I will go from there.
Yeah.
So it
Good
was
stuff.
interesting. Oh,
Yeah, that's another question. but-
oh, yeah. Lynn is asking, Joan, how many 4-inch plants in what size container? Oh,
Ooh, in the ground, that's nice.
ooh, one grew to 4-foot diameter in the ground. Wow. You know,
Hope you
everybody,
got pictures, Joan.
that, you know, that's the part about proven winners over the years. Everybody thinks that annuals do best in pots, but I've increasingly seen people using their annuals in the ground, and it is really. So Joan, I'd like to see your evidence.
That's what I tell everybody too. If you're coming in and you have questions about gardening or about your garden, bring everybody has a camera on their phone, take pictures. It's hard to describe or try to picture in your mind, what they're trying to figure out. I always say, take pictures, take a lot of pictures, different times of the day, so you can see where that sun is lying or where it's not lying, if it's fully shaded or partially shaded. Now, bring some pictures, because it helps, it's a visual thing for most
Well,
people.
gardening is visual,
Yeah,
very,
so-
in my mind, is very
Yeah.
visual. So what I'm always trying to do is do that same thing. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to describe for some people, but
Yeah.
at the same time, most of us are fairly visual and we will show pictures and do that. I mean, it's the same thing. I'm sure you've had more than the 1 or 2 bug visits in the garden center.
Oh, yes, I have one in my kitchen. I've named him Mr. Bill. He's a very large spider. He just up above the light there and he's hanging out in the kitchen.
But spiders are good guys.
I know, I'm not touching Bill. He can hang out on the wall. I'm
You
not-
didn't name him for Bill.
No, I didn't. I just thought Mr. Bill was a good name for a spider, that's all.
Oh, okay. When we lived in England, I had a spider named Steve, and he lived under the floorboards. He got really big. When I vacuumed, I used to put a vase over top of him, so I didn't vacuum him up, but he was big. He was quite big.
Well, Mr. Bill's got, almost looks like a face on his back. It's really kind of cool, but I keep an eye on him. One day I went down, he was gone. So of course, then you spend the next hour doing this. While you're making coffee, looking behind the coffee maker, looking in the coffee maker,
Okay,
yeah.
so what are some of Bluegrass's new ideas and projects where we're
Well,
working?
you know, we've got an event happening on Saturday, and as far as I've heard, there's a lot of kids coming because it's a pre-registration type thing. We're gonna do some crafts in the afternoon. I think there's about 190 kids coming.
Oh, wow, how many staff are you bringing in?
There's gonna be more eyes in the back of everybody's head, I think, but we'll have to see. But there's gonna be some volunteers there,
Yeah, but-
lending a hand, making sure everybody's kind of, you know, not running through the trees, because there's a lot of trees in the greenhouse right now. And so it should be really interesting to see how.
Well,
this
you
is-
guys do Pumpkin Fest and you
yes,
get a
Pumpkin Fest.
lot of children in there.
Oh,
For
yeah.
those of you that haven't been to Pumpkin Fest, it's quite an adventure.
Yes, well, this year was our 20th anniversary of doing Pumpkin Fest and my 5th, I think it was. The staff is so into making Pumpkin Fest a success. It's a fundraiser for the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation. Like I said, it's always a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. A lot of hay bales have to be moved. Our good friend there, Steve Neubauer, makes a maze with hay bales out in front, and it has kind of like a cave area. There's like mannequins and scary stuff. I've never been in there, I can't tell you, but it's a lot of fun.
What was the biggest pumpkin?
This year, we didn't have a lot of pumpkins this year, but the big finale for us, no one's ever been, we take usually the biggest pumpkin that we have, usually we have them on display. And the one year, I think the pumpkin weighed 1,250 pounds, and we dropped it on a minivan in the parking lot with fireworks. You gotta have the fireworks. It's all about the fireworks. And that's a lot of fun. One year we had a Spider Volkswagen, and it was, we had 2 pumpkins and dropped them on that. That was a lot of fun.
I see a question from Deanie. I hope I said that right, Deanie. Does Bluegrass sell tiger eyes pansies?
I think we get those in the springtime. I'm almost certain that we had them in the past.
Well, I've seen them in your bedding plant.
Yeah, so I know we get either this, I'm sure we get.
They're
those,
the
right?
Right, that's what it says. They're the stripy ones.
Yeah, no, I think we get those.
Yes.
And we usually don't get a lot of those, and so you've got to move fast. And teddy bear sunflower seeds, I will have to double check, but we may still have some of those in stock right now. Are those the red ones? Are
No,
those the red ones?
Teddy bears are
Or
the
the-
shorter ones.
And they grow
fluffy.
close,
Yeah,
they grow closer to the stalk, don't they?
that's right. Yes.
Oh, I've had those in my yard before.
Yes.
That's why I know them.
Seedless.
Ah,
What did Deb say?
They're
seedless. They're seedless. That's right too. That's why they're fuzzy. That's right. I know what they look like, but I don't remember the details sometimes about the seedless part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
so volunteering. There's an opportunity. We always look for volunteers for our Pumpkin Fest, and so far I've been really lucky that Airdrie, volunteer Airdrie has come forward and helped us. And I know that I used to volunteer here at the Hort Society, and that if you ever wanna learn about gardening, volunteer at the Hort Society. You will have so many amazing opportunities, and you get to hang out with people like this and other.
He's done that more than once, helped me. That's why he probably could teach some of the classes better than I do.
It's always good to volunteer and do something. I volunteer at the folk festival every year. This year was year 22 for me, I think. So, somehow I managed to squeeze that 5-day festival in just to volunteer.
Oh, I see a question. Now, oh, not a question, but a statement, and I bet you that's from Joan. Now is the time to review garden pictures and for what to edit for next year. Yes. See, there's what I mean about taking pictures. Glenn means it too.
Yeah.
Go around and take pictures so that you can remember some of the things, because if you garden journal, if you keep a journal and write it
Yeah.
down.
A
You've
very
got-
good thing. You
Yes.
have them here at the office, garden
Yeah,
journals.
and you have one now.
I do, yes.
Yeah, he finally writes in it too.
Yes, I have to. I get a quiz afterwards.
Well, the thing is that I'll go to the garden center and I'm walking around putting things on my cart, and then I edit the cart and take pictures, and he goes, "What are we doing now?"
Usually there's a collection.
Yes. So when would someone have to get a move on to get those pansies?
Ooh, let's see, pansies, let's see.
They're early season.
Yeah, so they would be in, probably, we'll start to get that stuff mid-April, the last week in April-ish, maybe around in
Yeah.
there. It's always best just to give us a call. Sometimes we'll post pictures either on Facebook or Instagram of what's arrived and what's new. Although that we don't do that anymore with tropicals with this kind of stuff, because there's been almost fisticuffs, people come in and they buy them.
Well, I've always found it very interesting what people enjoy about doing their plants and what they
Yeah.
get. But no, pansies are early, they're early season, and you'll see them earlier in the garden center than later. Cause they don't like the heat of the garden center once the heat starts to build in a garden center, so.
Yeah.
If you're going and looking for them in
That would be
April.
in March, beginning of April.
yes,
I know my boss is pretty concerned with the amount of tropicals we have right now, where the annuals or perennials are going to go, so.
but it's only November.
I know, but you should see our greenhouse, it's full. It's like a forest in there.
It's the interesting thing to me is that right now for the garden centers, they are putting together their programs for next year, but they still have to keep the garden center full of plant material
Oh, yeah.
to keep people coming in, and
Well, we usually get plants, I would say for sure at once a week.
yes,
It may not be a lot of plants, but we'll always get something in every week, regardless.
yes,
So usually 4-inch, maybe a couple of 6-inch of whatever we have or whatever cool and available. That's kind of different.
yes,
We'll try and make sure we get some of that in.
yes, yes, I get that. But I'm looking at, from the standpoint of the Christmas part of things. Do you have your boughs and?
Oh, we got our boughs in, and they are moving fast. So if you have not gone to get to your greens yet, I would suggest that you do it fast.
So pine,
We've got pine, hemlock, noble fir, cedar, silver fir, and we've got juniper berry bunches now
ooh,
on branches. Like they're really cool.
nice.
Yeah, because normally we have to steal those. I mean, borrow from Vern's garden.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're going.
Vern usually lets us cut them off.
Yes, I always find it interesting what what people are looking for. Junipers are one of those plants that we have questions about all the time. And I like junipers because I can tell the story about juniper berries making gin. So just me. Okay, do you get a lot of compostable pots with the plants that come in?
Actually, we do.
And that's becoming more and more the norm, isn't it?
Well, I would think so, and I know there's some kind of folderol going on with the one-use plastics and everything, so there's a lot of that, I think, is transferring itself. I know that we do have, we get the mache, they're like a mache.
Yes, yes.
And we usually get our herbs in those, and, they last in the greenhouse anyways, they'll last for about 3 weeks before they start to go a little sideways, and then you kind of have to get rid of those. But usually the people will buy those out first.
Yes,
All you have to do, I do anyways, you just tear the bottom out just a little bit, plant the whole thing in the ground, and you don't have to worry about it.
that's right.
And it helps the soil and everything.
That's right. I like compostable pots. I've been.
I'm sure there's gonna come out with another version of a compostable plastic, something or other. Someone has to come out with it, so maybe we can put our heads together, everybody out there, and let's see if we
I don't
can.
know if plastic
come up
will
with
ever
some-
be compostable because it's too hard. It's part of a different industry in part, but I have always liked the fact that the herd people were
Yeah.
the first people to kick off using coir and
Yeah.
compostable cardboard, etc.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that the vegetable growers are
Even some
switching.
of our plant tags are that, they come in
Oh, yeah,
paper,
that's
but
right.
they're compostable.
That's right.
Again, and after about 3 weeks, they kind of start to crash down. a
I
little
had
bit.
one or two of those in my house and I was trying to remember the name of the plant and it had composted itself into the soil. So then I'm running around. Okay, do you carry that plant select plants at Bluegrass?
I'll have to think about that, I'm not sure,
Yeah, you do.
we must.
I snooped around one day over in your annual section and you had them there.
Oh, that's quite possible.
Yeah, but the thing about Plant Select is it's just come onto the market. So it is quite something. Okay, Kath, you mentioned the UK is moving away from plastics as well. What are some of the things that are happening there? Well, increasingly, what they are doing is they've taken and started to do cardboard bedding plant trays instead of the plain old ones. And the other thing that happens in a lot of the smaller garden centers there, and they've done it for as long as I can shop there and into it, and they take the plants out of the containers because they're reusable. And they just like, you know how we get those cardboard trays at the garden center? They just line them up on the cardboard tray. And you take that home with you, and the cardboard is recyclable to the point where the garden centers are starting to even take them back quite often. And more, there are some really interesting new fibers that they're using that are compostable. So I'm waiting to see some of it show up here. And I haven't been, unfortunately, to a hard goods show to see what they're offering in new here. But I'm quite certain we're trying to keep up, but the UK is usually a little ahead. I always used to, when I first used to stop and buy roadside plants in England, and they'd ask me if I brought my own newspaper to put the plant in. So I had to think about that. And then I got to know a couple of the people that were selling at the roadside. So I would go in with my newspaper, and I quite often used to take them a whole bunch. And they would just tell me their stuff taken out of the plastic containers. And I questioned them, and they said, well, we wash them out. We clean them and reuse them to grow in, but we want our investment back, and we don't want to put them in the landfill. So I think that's something that we'll be looking at. Okay, Eleanor, hi Eleanor. I'll be looking for Kupani old-fashioned sweet pea seeds and a David Austin rose called Lark Ascending. When spring comes, might you have those?
Well, I was thinking about that sweet peas. I'm not in that. I know there would be seeds, but I'm not sure if we can.
Kupani is usually, actually, they sell it in Renee's seeds.
Oh, then we do carry
But
Renee's
you guys
seeds.
have Renee's
Have
seeds.
Renee's seeds.
And they,
I was thinking of the
Yeah.
sweet pea lady outside of town here.
yeah, Bailey's, yeah.
Yeah, they would probably.
She
have that.
she has those. And the David Austin roses, you don't get those.
No,
do
we
you?
don't carry that brand name. I don't know why we don't.
Well, they're hardy to zone 4.
Yeah, that's probably why.
And is Lark Ascending one of the newer ones in the David Austin catalog? Is that why I remember that name?
I want to say it's pale pink, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It seems to me it's like.
yeah. I
we
love
saw
David
that-
Austin roses, but my problem is that I've grown them and had them, and if I'm lucky, they give me 3 to 4 years and then I lose them. And so as a result, I'm a little careful of them. But do check. I know that some garden centers do get them in. For instance, I know that Spruce It Up had David Austin's last
I
year.
was gonna say that. I think
Yeah.
that's where we saw that one.
Yeah.
That day we went shopping, that was.
Yeah, that one of your volunteer days. Okay. Okay, Deanie's saying roses going online. Oh,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a beauty.
It is
It's a
pale.
peach color.
Peachy pale pink.
Ooh, that's the thing about David Austin roses. They are just incredible. Okay, Deanie says, going online, there seems to be differing opinions about whether my roses need to be cut down in the fall and covered. I have not cut them. What do you recommend? Well, at this point in the year, and because we haven't had a hard frost, I'll cut them down about maybe 6 or 7 inches, unless they're the great big huge hardy shrubs. And then I just tend to deadhead them a bit, clean them up a bit, but I don't cut them right to the ground. 2 reasons: you don't want the heavy frosts to go right into the stem and then into the root. And the other thing is that, yes, you want to cut them a bit because of the wind here. So if
That's
you've
true.
got windy corners, you don't want to leave them there shaking around, because that loosens them out of the soil. But what I like to do with mine is prune them a bit now, and then I'll go back to them in April and prune
Well,
them
you
back.
usually collect the rose hips. about
That's
the
right,
Mondays.
that's
So
right.
we use them.
But I cut them from the standpoint of, I don't want the wind knocking them. So I have to fight myself. And Glenn knows that, because he thinks I bought the thorniest roses in the country. So he,
They are man killers. Even through the gloves.
yeah, and I bought you gauntlets.
I know. I could still feel it
Yeah,
going through there.
that's right. Okay, Joan is saying, I bought a gorgeous astrantia with variegated leaves called Vanilla Gorilla. Oh, I love the name. I agreed terribly. It seemed a little bit more, it seemed a bit more sensitive to the sun than my green leaf astrantia. Could this be that the plant is settling in during the first year, or should I move it to a shadier area? I've found that the astrantia takes 2 or 3 years to establish itself, and I have heard that that variegated one does need a bit more shade or it won't maintain. So maybe I'd be moving it to a bit more shade. It is so pretty. I only saw one tray anywhere this year. So I thought they were really gorgeous, and I like astrantia. It's one of those plants that I do like a little wedding. It's another one, but anyway, where did you find the Vanilla Gorilla? Because I only saw like one tray anywhere that I was. That's the thing about being a garden person. You go in every place and then you're in there for 3 or 4 hours.
I think
Reading
we had
lists.
some variegated.
It seems to me that
I
you
think we
did.
did.
I think you guys
And I
did.
looked at buying one, but I changed my mind. Actually, I was gonna buy it for you.
Oh, she bought it at Blue Grass.
I was gonna say, I
See,
know
you
we
were-
have them, but there might be still one in the hoop house that I just haven't brought over yet.
Every once in a while, he says, you know, I gotta clean out the hoop house because I gotta bring you plants. And I go, oh.
I have a
As if you-
bucket sitting there right now. It's supposed to go in the ground.
Which okay.
Will go in the ground.
Yes, some of the garden centers, bluegrass as well, if they have leftover plant material, they don't throw it away, they dig a hole and they bury it. And that is how they maintain the economy of what they brought in and didn't sell, so that they have it ready, and then they'll dig it up in the spring, and you won't see it at the front of the store, but they'll be growing it along, and it'll appear again.
327 2-gallon grasses got buried.
Oh, did they?
I didn't have to do
Bluegrass
that.
will have grass next year,
We'll have
ornamental grass,
early.
early ornamental grasses.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fun thing to kind of carry on with in my mind.
Yeah.
So what other events have you got coming up besides the Kids' Day?
Oh, gosh. Well, obviously we have classes, and I know
Yes.
that we're doing a class with the Port Society on the 14th, I think it is. It's a table center class. If you haven't looked for it, look online. We'd love to have you out. I think it's the 14th. I don't know if is that a Friday or a Thursday?
I don't know, it doesn't say, but on my list, it does say festive centerpiece workshop in person.
Yeah, that's
So
always fun.
It's Thursday the
Michelle?
14th. It is Thursday the
Thursday.
14th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thursday evening.
Yeah,
No, we're just gonna look at. the
we're
calendar.
looking at the calendar. Oh, yes, there it
Festive
is.
Centerpiece Thursday,
Yeah.
so that would be a 6 o'clock start.
Yes.
6:30, so that's always a nice way to spend the evening too, and we've
Yeah.
got some really, trust me when I say I've got lots of cool lights hung up, because I had to put them up. And
Yeah.
take them down and move them and put them back up again. So there's a lot of lights over there that are gonna be in our classroom area. We've set up
Yeah.
the classroom again this year in the center of the main greenhouse.
Mhm.
It's really cool. I'm
Oh.
excited about that.
Oh, I haven't driven that far in quite a while. Hold up my bear.
Oh, your bear, yes. We like the bear.
It's a coffee mug. But I thought it was really cute, and it's principle of table centers. It's got a lot of its greenery, and it's quite a nice, it makes a nice gift. And that's
Yeah.
what I like about them.
Well, that's the idea with that table center class, is that maybe you wanna make it for yourself, or if you're going over to a friend's for dinner,
Mhm.
for around Christmas time, it's always nice to take a
Okay.
hostess gift.
Do you guys play music at your Christmas?
Oh, yeah,
You do?
oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
do you
We don't-
serve eggnog?
I don't know, this year we could. I'm sure I could find the glasses. If someone brought eggnog, we would bring the glasses.
Well, I do laugh at some of that, but I mean, there are several workshops coming up for Christmas in the next few days and weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
we
I think
have,
our last one's the 15th of December for us.
oh, okay.
And obviously yours is, oh, maybe not, so we got more on the 16th, pardon me. Just remember we had a class on that day. But yeah, no, the workshops are always good, because Kath, you and I have done, I don't know how many workshops together for the Hort Society all over the place.
Yes.
All
It's-
over
It's
the
called the
place.
Glenn and Kath Road Show. He's very good at Tetris. If you want to have your car loaded and fixed in 6 boxes of greens, plus the containers for 25 people, plus all the tchotchkes that go within the arrangements, he manages to fit it into my Escape. Mind you, we sometimes drive with holding things.
Oh, that's on you, that's normal. That's normal.
But I always find the Table Center one of my favorite, and we have a workshop at Garden Retreat this coming weekend.
Oh, cool.
And they are going to make a natural star.
Oh, that's this weekend?
Yeah,
Finally?
it's Wednesday, oh, Wednesday, I retract that, it's Wednesday. But
Oh, really?
Laura, the gal who's the designer and supervisor at Garden Retreat, she created it from recycled twigs and branches, and it's filled with moss, and it has the coolest textures in it. But she does it all naturally. So there's nothing in it that can't be repurposed or recycled. But I thought, what a great way, when you're making an arrangement, and you have leftover sticks that you cut shorter. I saved them the other day from one class, and I'm gonna figure that star out, or I may have to go to the class myself. And I'm thinking seriously that that's what I'll do, is, I honestly think that's one of my favorite things.
You debuted those stars at your Tea for Kath.
I did.
They were very nice.
Yeah.
Good job, Laura.
Yeah, so I'm really quite excited that, and Janet's doing a mossed wreath for us, and that one should be really fun. So we've done the centerpiece, but, oh, I forgot about that. The society is having an open house at Richmond Green, which is our quote, new offices, and now, although we've been here a while now. And it's Friday, December 15th, from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and should save the date and come see us, come visit.
Come get a membership.
If you don't have,
Volunteer.
yeah, volunteer, and I'm sure we will have some cookies. I hope we'll have cookies.
Woo-hoo.
Anyway,
I'm working.
oh, you
I
can't
won't
come, you can't come? Okay. John says, Kath, have you started ordering your seeds for next year? Ordering? I bought some already. I was doing a class at Green Gate on Sunday. So just because I was walking around gathering the things for my class and looking around, I found where they hid the seed racks. While they re-merchandise the floor, for those of you that don't go in very often. Oh, and I also, Joan, I bought another amaryllis. That makes 29.
You bought another one? Where are you gonna put that?
I don't know, as it is, they're filling up under the table, but I have 2 that are coming up.
Oh,
Yes.
I've got 4. They're all leaves. I don't know if I'm gonna get a flower or not. but-
And we were talking sweet peas earlier. Well, Joan, I bought more sweet peas because I've used them all this past year. So I found in the Renee's, I found some really great individual colors of the Spencer Giants, which are my favorites. So I was quite excited, so I bought them. I thought, you know what? I might not get back here. So it was one of those, and I am gonna try growing some of my own petunias this year. So that's my project in January, because I know that's when I've got to start them. So, and besides which, I have some heating mats now, so. Do I have a favorite color of sweet pea? Purple. That's one of the reasons I like it. I'm trying Wiltshire Ripple. Wiltshire Ripple is one of my favorites. I went to England on a trip after we moved back, and I went over there, and we were there in October, and in England, that's when the sweet peas come out. And I was so excited. And unbeknownst to me, I seem to have bought $200 worth of sweet peas. So of course I got called into security, and I'm going through with this lineup, and he said, well, we note that you wrote sweet pea seeds down. And he said, I need to check that they're foil lined. And I said, yes, they are. And he said, how many packages of sweet peas did you buy? I said, well, there's about, I don't know, 200 packets, if not a little more. So anyway, he said, oh, really? I said, and I had them all on top of the suitcase because I figured I was going to get called on it. And he said, I showed him, and he says, well, are they all for you? Yes, they're mine. They're all mine. So anyway, I had not 10 packages of Wiltshire Ripple, which took me about 4 years to use up my collection. But I also frightened him because I had bought a cast iron fairy silhouette in England, and it was near the bottom of the bag. And I said, and I got a cast iron fairy. Would you like to see it? No, dear. So they let me through without paying. I was quite sweet, quite good. Do you ever keep your sweet pea seeds from 1 year to the next? Yes, I do. I will, towards the end of the season, I quit picking them. I pick them all summer long, because what's the point of growing sweet peas without taking them indoors and enjoying the fragrance?
You had a very good collection this year.
Yeah, it turned out really well, didn't it? I had
First year it didn't do very good.
no,
I
but
didn't plant them deep enough, apparently.
no.
I
On
tried.
top of which, it was the building project that went around my deck
Oh,
for
yes.
how long, so.
That's true.
And I designed my deck with posts instead of, well, it's railings rather than doing heavy posts or anything like that, because I wanted somewhere for my sweet peas to twine around. So but I do keep them from year to year, and I tend to keep them dry. I don't want them sitting in anything cold. And they've survived, well, I think I've had some that I've kept 10 years. So I'm always quite interested in them. Sweet peas are my favorite thing. They remind me of my grandpa. And my grandpa used to grow he had a 50-foot long trellis that he built with chicken wire in it. And he grew peas on 3/4 of it. The rest of it was sweet peas. And I don't know what I like more, picking the peas and eating them raw, or picking his sweet peas and bringing them in for grandma. That's what gardening's about.
Yeah.
It's about the memories. It's like you remembering the potato farm
Oh, yeah.
and your dad. Don't do his voice, please.
No, I can't swear here.
But you guys used to go out and harvest them and dig them.
Oh, yeah, it was quite a garden. My grandfather loved to garden. We
Yes.
had chickens and up there too, and it was, we had rows of all kinds of strawberries. Dad decided we were going to grow strawberries, lots of strawberries. I think he had 4 different kinds there or something, plus the potatoes. We had raspberries, and Mom had stumbled upon one of our many Sunday drives. We used to drive along the Detroit River there, and we found a stash of tulip bulbs.
Oh,
So we figured the city must have come along and just tucked out the tulip bulbs. So Mom said, Robert, stop the car. So of course, up we go, and I am collecting all these tulip bulbs. Well, she planted all the tulip bulbs at the farm in a half circle, and gosh darn it, they all didn't come up. Dad was not very happy that these were in his garden area, but they looked really nice, and I think they were still coming up even 3 years ago, because Dad had mentioned that the tulips are still coming up.
yeah.
At the farm.
You see, and that brings me to one of my favorite things that I'll say for those of you that know me and love me. I believe that gardening is not only something that is around us all the time and has been, it's hereditary almost. It's like a garden brings back a memory, or you see somebody's garden and you think.
Well, it's like raspberries. Growing up as a kid, we always had raspberries in our yard.
Yes,
I have raspberries in my yard.
yes, but they grew into the footpath.
Well, they grew under the new sidewalking into what was my grass, which is no longer there. It's completely killed off by the stupid raspberries.
Deb, what's your favorite garden memory? Deb's with us. She's our executive director of the Horticultural Society.
I don't know about, I have a few garden memories,
Yes?
but I don't know if they're favorites. So as a young child, we lived on our garden. And I remember having to go out and weed the bean patch, and it took all day, and then all night I weeded the bean patch in my dreams.
But you still came away with it. Quite a love of gardening.
Oh, absolutely. Just don't want to have that big a bean patch.
Deb has no grass. She has a garden. And it fascinates me to walk even into the front garden and how many. And she winter sows. So I think it's all part of it.
I have a garden lady in my neighborhood and she took out all of her grass and put in raised flower beds. And she has flowers on the outside of the fence, and gosh, does it ever look nice? I thought, what a great use of a yard.
Yes.
You know, and she had corn, and the corn was growing, and she had her tomatoes with the canopies with the zippers on them to keep them growing even past the season. to
Oh,
keep the
yeah. And
frost
she
off.
told me though once that some of that was for the hail.
Well, I could see that for sure. I
Yes.
could see that for sure.
Yes. Okay, Michelle is asking, on the note of strawberries, what's your thought on strawberry spinach?
I don't know if I've had that.
It's a tricky one. I think it's pretty and I think it's good, but I'm not sure that it's my favorite taste. What about you, Deb?
I've never eaten it. I just think it's really pretty.
It's really pretty. It makes a great border around things and it grows in the shade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it grows in the shade. Spinach is one of those shade plants. It's also one of those things that spinach in general, I've been trying to get people to do more winter sowing of it. Because believe it or not, it will sit dormant under the snow. And it's one of the first things that comes up in the spring, and it'll take a certain amount of frost and not die back. So,
We have a garden box just down close to the big yellow bag.
oh, that's right,
Is.
yes.
And it's been quite an interesting little garden box because that's where I saw the strawberry and spinach, and nobody
Yeah.
knows who planted it, where it came from. But we have a nice little patch in
I
that
didn't know
box
that.
of strawberry spinach. Along with other
Interesting.
surprise plant.
Well, there's nothing better than a surprise garden. And that's like, think about guerrilla gardening and what, it's one of those things. Do slugs like spinach? Yes, Joan, they do like it, especially if they are in really wet shade. But what I have had a great deal of success with is I'm sure you've all heard me talk, well, not all of you, but you may have heard me discuss ant killing and dealing with the ant population. And I try to do it a little bit on the side of whatever, but slugs are attracted to sugar just as ants are. So I take my blender and I take frosted flakes and I make them really fine, like they're almost like really gritty. And the slugs crawl across them and then they get stopped by it. And they try to eat some of that, but it causes their stomach or their gut to explode. That's terrible. But it works. But also the other thing, when you plant spinach, you should just do a really fine sowing of horticultural grade sand. And usually the garden centers sell a small enough bag that you've probably got 5 years worth of sand to do 10-foot row of spinach. It also, the slugs will take after your chard as well.
And that's why we all have beer in our fridge, so we can make the slugs drink the beer.
Yes, but buy cheap beer
Of course,
or old beer.
I have old beer in my fridge.
Yeah.
It's strictly for slugs.
Strictly. Well, you see, to me, I like spinach. I like it early in the spring and I like it later in the fall.
I thought you were gonna say you like beer.
No, not anymore. In my younger days, I might have drunk a beer or two. Or three. It just depends. As I said to someone the other day, So if you were to make a feeling about gardening, garden season coming up soon, how would you feel about it as far as new trendy plants selling the best or the old fashioned favorites selling the best?
I think there's a kind of give and take on that. Because
Yeah.
everybody wants to try something new, but on that same token, and I think the pandemic really showed a lot of people what they can do or what they could do. Because a lot of people were forced not to go to work, and gardening became the new hobby for everybody, or to try and figure out what grows here. Because I hear that all the time, and I'm sure you must hear it all the time. Well, what the heck grows here? What can I grow at home? So everyone's, they're and they like to buy a lot of tomatoes and lots of peppers. And then at the end of the season, they have all these tomatoes and they go, what am I gonna do with all these tomatoes? They start giving to the neighbors, the neighbors giving back, and it's just that thing.
It's like
So,
growing zucchini.
yes, or spinach, because you always can hang a bag of spinach on your friend's car as they leave, because you have too much, or kale. There's another one,
Oh yeah, kale,
kale,
glorious kale, and it just keeps, the more you cut it, the more it comes
it's
back.
like a hedgerow.
Yes.
Some
But
of
I
them actually-
like the smaller leaf kales, but if I don't get it, well, it's still juvenile, I don't like when it's old in the garden, because it's leathery.
Yeah, that's never good.
No, it isn't.
Not unless you can steam that and then roll it with like a grape leaf and meat or something with rice.
See, there's one of Glenn's other hats, is why he's a really good food gardener, is he was a chef. So
That's my first career.
that was your first career.
That was my first career. I was a chef for 13 years
Yes.
for Hilton International Hotels. So that was always lots of fun. And that's where that teamwork comes in, and the garden center, same thing. You gotta have a teamwork in order to make anything go forward. You gotta have that good team and lots of good communication.
Okay,
What do you?
okay, Glenn, what do you do with all the green beans?
Well, the green beans, you can saute them with garlic butter, obviously straight up, or you can chop them up after you've cooked them and put them in salad with almonds, cold. Or you can slice up Brussels sprouts really thin and put the green beans with that in a nice dressing. You do like a lemon dressing or even maybe a Caesar dressing with that as a side dish. Green beans almondine is like a classic dish that you can cook up at home. Most people can.
Do you freeze any of your beans?
No, because I eat them all. I like beans. I like yellow beans too. A lot of people don't like yellow beans. Why? What's the matter with yellow beans?
I like yellow beans too.
Yeah.
But the trick is with yellow beans and green beans in the same garden, they cross-pollinate. And so some rows will be part green beans and some rows will be part yellow, whereas the yellow beans were supposed to be over there and the greens were supposed to over there.
Yeah.
So the way you get around it is to put your green beans in the front yard and your yellow beans in the backyard,
And
or
yes,
vice versa.
yes, and she's right. The bigger the leaves for kale makes better kale chips. They
Yes.
are pretty tasty. Got to get that natural.
But how do you make
brewer's
kale
yeast.
chips?
You gotta do them in the oven.
Oh,
But
I
some
have a
people
new
deep fry.
stove and I hardly know how to use the oven. Can I confess that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She haven't set anything on fire this while.
Yeah. I get busy. I forget. Okay.
And yes, Joan, the pickled green beans for Caesars are amazing.
Do you cook them first or just pickle them
I think
raw?
you just pickle them.
Ooh,
They're nice and crisp.
ooh. You see, we could do
Caesar time yet?
a whole class in my mind of you've grown all this stuff in your garden. How are you using it? Are you pickling? Are you baking? Are you freezing? Are you storing things? To me, that would be a whole conversation.
Well, that would be something the ATCO boys might be interested in.
Well, they have talked about it a bit.
You know?
They're having enough trouble. Remember the night that we picked the whole garden? And Chef Darcy walked into the kitchen at the end because he had all of this bins, things that needed to be cleaned and stored. I don't think the prep guy spoke to him for about a week. Because they prepped and they cleaned and but they used it and they use it all. And
Yeah.
if they have little bits of things left over, they are master picklers. They can pickle just about everything
Well,
in it.
that chili sauce they made a couple of years ago,
Oh, that was
that,
good.
it made me almost cry because it had the exact same flavor as my mother's chili sauce. There's a particular herb
Ah.
they put in there, and I don't know what, I can't remember what it is, but it tasted so much like my mom's. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. I was so floored by that.
Deanie's saying what to do at the end would be a great idea. We're working on it, believe me. We are working on it. Michelle has all sorts of great ideas. Michelle's our program coordinator. She's helping tonight somewhere in there. Anyway, it's a great idea, and I have talked for ages. Wouldn't it be nice to have a class and everybody come with their favorite preserving recipe or their favorite pickling recipe, and we make it an idea exchange of that. And honestly, we are doing I do some growing classes and I do some food gardening, and I talk about it at the end, but I often think we need to get it to the end. It's like our seed to table classes that we're offering now. And they literally are about growing it from seed, getting it to say mid-May, mid-June, when you've got all this fresh stuff starting to come up. A few good ideas exchanged during the talking about, and let's talk a little bit about weeding. And did you know you could eat chickweed? Just little things like that. I'm not gonna eat it because I dislike it. Because I had to weed it for years. One of my jobs at university, I weeded City of Edmonton gardens, the big gardens, the fancy gardens. And I got so I could spot chickweed from 110 paces, and I would be going, oh, here we go again. So anyway, I think that we should be all talking about that and keeping on going. Do you find at the garden center even that they're asking you, what am I gonna do with all this?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask, and it always amazes me, like I said, that people buy 5 or 6 tomato plants, and I'm thinking, wow, what are you guys gonna do with all those tomatoes? I had 2 tomatoes in my yard, which were like shrubs,
Yes.
and I had 40 tomatoes. I still got them in paper bags ripening. So I actually have to check that when I get home, because I don't know.
You forgot about them.
Well, I don't know, they're sitting over by the window, so they're cool, but I'll have to open the bag and see if there's something in there that's gonna wave at me or try to escape.
I see the bottom part of a question there. Okay,
Gardening
Eleanor,
is-
Romano green beans from the Edmonton Farmers Market were wonderful. The ones I planted were puny and not tasty. Any idea why? Okay, Romano green beans like a really very poor soil. They do better in poor soil than they do all in that enriched stuff, things that we grow. So there's always a part of the garden where things that do well and you always rotate it through. But the other reason is the variety of Romanos. They're in the Italian supermarket, they sell a Romano bean. And it has a name at the front of it, and it is sold, the seed is sold by, from CD Saturday. There's a guy that comes, Jim Tournier, and he sells a Romano bean seed that is probably one of the truest Romanos I've ever tasted, and they grow quite well.
I'm reading the next one.
Oh, sorry. Doing that. Amy says, one of my garden memories, my grandmother made a huge garden, as in hauling out wheelbarrows full of rock and dumping them on the lakeshore at our Bob Cajun cottage. In August, phlox were the huge crop. I got married outside at the cottage and found material for my bridesmaids' dresses that more or less matched the phlox. Oh, and the minister went through the ceremony with a spider hanging off his ear. You see, we gardeners have no problem with that sort of thing.
I actually walked through one at work and I could feel it doing this, and my coworker, she's not very good with spiders, I said, where is it? where's the spider? So I'm like, I go like that, and it was the smallest little thing, and I was like, well, that wasn't as big.
So
as I
who
thought.
rescued the minister from the spider, or did the spider just leave? That's on a need to know basis, or did somebody do it?
That's the best one yet.
Well, it's one of the better ones, I like that. So your grandma made a great big garden. Doing rock garden stuff. Amy says, no one, we let him suffer. It's
That would
amazing.
be the spider.
It would be the spider that's suffering. I worked with a very dear old friend at Golden Acre in the day, Ruth Stahl. I don't know if you'd ever remember her, but she, little tiny gray-haired lady, and she was a bug person. She and Nora Bryan wrote a really great bug book, really nicely illustrated, really lots of information about it. But you go into, my job was to help her, relieve her, and to be there on her days off and to answer questions like she did. But she loved bugs and people would bring them into her. But one of my fondest memories of her was she was talking away to a customer when I walked into the bookstore, and there she was, and she was standing there talking to this guy, and she had something in her hair. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, so I sort of got behind her at the desk and said, Ruth, what is that in your hair? And she says, oh, that's a tomato hornworm. Have you ever seen one? I said, well, I'm seeing it now in your hair. But she was just fascinated with it. And she says, I'm just trying to keep it because I want to take a picture. I'll go set it free outside.
They're quite big.
Well, they are. They're quite, and they have a horn.
Oh, yeah, and the ones we had in Ontario, they used to have eggs laid all over the back of them.
Yes.
I don't know what they were, but I wasn't allowed to bring those in the house. Cause I was a bug kid growing up as well, and I would often bring stuff in the house. I remember I brought a moth who was about this big. And I've seen pictures of it since, and in my mind, I can still see the moth. I said, look, Mom, and they went up and onto my mom's curtains, and she started screaming, it's laying eggs. And it laid eggs all over her curtains, and I had to fish that thing down and try not to crush it. And of course, I'm doing this and out onto the front porch where it proceeded to lay more eggs.
Adventures in gardening.
You know, it's like when I had the monarch butterflies, because I used to
Yes,
collect those too.
And those are important.
And I would let them crawl around the porch, and that's how I figured out how, when they would make the chrysalids, and then we get to watch the butterfly come out. I'd stay up all night and watch that.
Joan's asking, does Nora still live in Calgary? I loved her garden there on Bow Trail. Nora moved to Carolina and got married, and she's working with her husband, and he owns a tree pruning company there. She took up pruning later on in her career, and you should see some of the things she does with this tree pruning. It's terrifying, but she loves it. And I loved her garden there on Bow Trail, but would you believe that about a year ago, they just tore it down and put, of course, one of those a couple of condos on it, but it was always so beautiful. Nora Bryan had one of the prettiest gardens. It was always sort of, but she kind of had a lean towards wildflowers and interesting things, but she was like me, she collected rocks as well. So truly, as we go through the garden, and at this time of year, I tend to do this, I start talking to other gardeners, and I start gathering some of the thought processes of what they did this year. And I always,
what grew the best?
what grew
Always,
best?
that's the best question.
And I always think, what grew best for you? What part of the city are you in?
Yeah.
Did you know, it's sort of an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
And I may not have seen you for 6 months, and I'll go, what did you grow in your garden this year?
I obviously say it was raspberries, because they took over my whole garden, followed by the hailstorm, which wiped out my bleeding heart shrubbery, because they are all this big, and I don't know if anybody else's bleeding hearts grow like shrubs, but mine are this big by about that wide and full of flowers. Wiped out. I didn't,
That's
I
too
was,
bad.
and my Joe Pye weed, it got knocked pretty badly, and my hops vine was shredded.
But I have hail suppression devices.
I know, you have the best hail suppression system.
For those of you don't know, I have Dollarama umbrellas, and Glenn cut the handles off, so they don't have a curved handle, they have a spike. And when it's gonna hail, I go out and plant my umbrellas around. And I discovered that Dollarama even sells the bigger ones, so I'm using those. However, then I discovered garden netting. Oh my goodness.
Made in Airdrie.
Made in Airdrie, I think
Whoa.
that's the best stuff. Okay, Joan, I grew a red banana this year for the first time. It was huge. Did you throw it away?
Yeah, did you bring it in? We've got a red banana at work, and we cut it back in January of last year. And now I swear it must be 12 feet tall, and the base on it, it's probably a good foot at the base. Like,
Wow.
I've never seen a banana that big, and it's the deepest red, but it's in
The red stalks.
Oh, yeah, the red.
Yeah, the
bright
red stalks, yeah.
It's I think it's a 27-inch pot, and I have to use the pallet jack to move it now, because I can't, there's no other way I can move it.
It is gorgeous. I go in and visit it. I hate to say this, but I named it, so.
Oh, you named the banana?
Yeah, your big red banana is named Alice.
Alice?
Yeah, I call her Alice. I go in and say, hi, Alice, how are you? And I think she's.
Well, it
doing
was
well.
outside for a while there, and then the wind kind of ravaged the
Yeah.
leaves. And we had to-
Okay, so Joan said I cut it back and drained it, and it is in the basement with no soil. Okay, so in January, you're gonna have to repot that root and get her going. And don't just put it in the pot you had originally, go a little bit bigger, because they tend to grow bigger roots as they age. So it's
Now,
amazing.
is she gonna put mulch in the bottom of that and?
I don't
squash?
know, you should.
She can do that, because, that's always, she plants it in the ground.
Oh, again, you're doing the ground thing.
Good
Okay.
on you, Joan. I have to come and see your garden.
Well, I haven't been there for a while.
I
have you?
haven't, no, I haven't.
But it plants it in a pot and get it started January, February, so you can plant it in the ground. Deb, what was your favorite thing you grew this year?
Actually, I'm growing it right now,
Oh.
because I did Andrew Britton's hydroponic class in the mason jar. I have amazing lettuce.
Oh,
Like
wow.
just the most beautiful, amazing lettuce. I
Oh,
have
that's
salad
right too. We did a hydroponic class 2 weeks ago, 3?
October, was that
Yeah,
the end of
yeah,
October?
October, the end of October.
So it's been about a month.
Yes,
I have this gorgeous lettuce. I've already pulled off some leaves.
I thought I heard you say you bought a bigger container too.
I did.
So you're getting into hydroponics.
Well, gotta try something new.
When are we doing second level hydroponics?
It'll be in the new year, so end of
Yes.
January, beginning of February.
Cool.
Are we gonna go to a shop or what are we doing?
No, he's coming here.
He's gonna come here?
Yeah, that's here.
Oh, good.
I remember, many years ago when I was a chef in Edmonton, the chef had the hydroponics system outside of his office. And I think we tried to grow herbs. I don't know how good they went. I don't remember that. I just remember getting the case in. It was usually in January, we'd get a big case in. It cost $300 to air freight it from BC. And it was all flowers, edible flowers for salads. And there were pansies and all kinds of stuff, rose petals. Because that was quite fun.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Oh, the hydroponics sounds good. I keep that in mind.
It's a little mason jar, and it's been amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, yeah, because I saw it. I remember, and you'd only had it, what? 2 weeks when I saw it,
Yeah,
and it was already big.
it's already big, it's huge. It's quite fascinating.
Well, I had a great deal of success for 2 years now with my broccoli. It just kept on producing. I had fresh broccoli right from mid-June onward, and as long as I kept cutting the flower heads, the heads, and it didn't bolt on me, I did really well. And that's when I started using the garden netting this year, and I didn't get the dreaded white cabbage butterfly who then lays its eggs and you get the caterpillar eating. There's more than once that I had,
Extra protein?
yeah, a little bit. But I had a friend that used to sit on her porch near her vegetable garden with a tennis racket. and bat the cabbage white moths out of the way. So there are things that as we go on, we do like, but as Glenn mentioned, my sweet peas this year were unbelievable.
Well, your broccoli was really good. You gave me a bunch of broccoli.
Well, as far as the broccoli plants, I planted 6.
It was quite large.
Yeah, and I gave Glenn some, I fed Glenn a few weeks, and my niece and her family, her 2 kids and her husband ate my broccoli all summer, so I literally fed 6 of us
Yeah,
on,
it was really good broccoli.
with broccoli, with only 6 plants.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was, I, as a result, like broccoli, and if you take my food growing course, I'll talk secrets of the broccoli plant. So, and never talk mean to them. I don't talk to my garden that often, but, my garden, I always feel for it, because it fights a battle with my Bigfoot dog and me and all of that, but I do okay. Deb is saying, my sun patients were amazing this summer. We'll plant again next year. The sun patients are impatiens that grow in the sun. And they are really terrific. What colors? What colors?
Variegated, yellow and green.
Oh,
we had those.
okay,
Yeah, they were striking.
okay.
We had those do they have pink flowers? Wasn't that the pink flowers?
I had white and pink,
Oh, yeah. We have them as a hanging basket.
and I'm overwintering, trying to overwinter.
Oh.
Michelle's telling me my cucamelons did well, and I grew 1 watermelon. How many watermelons did you get? I'm curious. Just 1 watermelon?
Just
or
one watermelon, one little guy.
How big was it?
Oh, just about that, like a softball,
Oh, neat.
maybe a little bigger.
And for those of you who haven't grown cucamelons, they are really neat. How many did you get, Michelle?
Probably about 60 off 2 plants, maybe 70.
Yeah, and they're just little melons. They're probably what, 3-4 inches?
They're like the size of a grape, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're really
and you
small.
just pop them in your mouth. They're really tasty.
Mhm.
I've had a few, but
More cucumber than melon.
Yeah, they had a more of a cute taste to them, but I do like them, and I found them very refreshing. Maybe I'll try that again this year.
We sell them. We
Oh,
do
do
get
you?
them in a 1 gallon box.
Okay.
I remember that because I had to water them.
Do your customers come back and tell you what they?
My favorite is the phone comes out and they show me pictures, because I always tell people, take pictures. I want to
Yeah.
see your garden, take pictures. Of course, I get a lot of do you know what that is? They always have their phone, and usually it's a cushion spurge. Usually, what is this? Do you have this? I'm like, yes, I do. Follow me. They're like, you know what that is?
But after a while working in the garden center, it becomes second nature.
Oh, yeah, in each season, right now, I'm trying to get into the tropical vein again, because
Yes.
I haven't done it for so long. But now we have so many tropicals that I have to go, like today, I was in the tropicals, I spent most of the day in there cleaning. Deadheading, cleaning, reorganizing stuff, and, but each season, comes a new challenge.
And that's the part about garden centers, as you experience the knowledge that the staff have, and
Yeah.
sometimes you get there on a slow day and they won't leave you alone because they just want someone to talk to. Although you do find them talking to the plants too, so.
Usually I'm talking to the cat.
Oh, that's right. Bluegrass has a couple of really,
Yes, we have Butter and Gordon.
oh yeah, Gord's the one that has,
He's
but I
got-
like Butter too.
Butter, she's lovable. Of course, and cat wrangling is another skill that if anybody works in a greenhouse, you have to master cat wrangling, because as you try to close, you have to look for the cats.
Yes, because you don't want to leave them outside.
Or leave them locked in the greenhouse.
Yes, and that, I always, yeah. I always remember, I don't know if any of you were regulars at Spruce It Up, but they had a cat named Rocky. And when I started there and we were building the store and putting it together, Rocky arrived one day and moved in under the stairs. He was without a doubt part tiger. And nobody could handle him or touch him, or anything. And he was the great hunter of all things. And he had more than a few run-ins with, with critters. But he was just a love on several levels. And he got so that he just lived to go sit by the till and talk to everybody. And that's what Gord does. Gord wants to be.
Butter's the one that sits, so Gordon, he's a little more standoffish. They're very good hunters though, I have to admit.
Yeah,
And they do like to bring in their prizing,
yeah. So,
unfortunately.
yeah, and Butter, I did a class there, and Butter decided that she should sleep on my table.
Right in front of the.
Right in
middle
front
the
of
class.
the class, right there. She took it over. So there's personalities. So do we have any last questions or comments on anything going on?
Did we get everything on the list?
Well, I think we're doing pretty good. I have a class call coming up for Tea Party, and it is the 13th of December, and that one will be really fun. I have a new person who's part of our new members, and I'm trying to remember her name as I'm blithering on. And her name is Cheryl, and Cheryl Lawrence from Circle Farms. They grow seed plants and they do some really interesting things. So she's a local, and I should be really interested to hear what she has to say. And tea parties are fun. It's in person. We actually serve real tea. Someone asked me that. I thought, well, yeah, and we have cookies and little cakes, and
They're really good.
and
Just
yeah.
saying, I was at the last tea party, it was a lot of fun.
Limited space, so you need to register.
That's
Yeah,
right.
please register. Otherwise, we'll be struggling a little bit for space, but we managed to fit a few people in. It's great. Anyway, thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Glenn Stevenson
Thank you,
from
Kath
Blue
Smyth.
Grass, for coming out, and yet another great conversation.